I was trained to be perfect. You know, when I was thinking about that or even just listening to it, I thought to myself how true it is that we're trained to be perfect in some capacity. Either we were trained to be perfect at 100% or trained to be perfect when we left the house so that we presented a perfect image. But the reality is that there is no such thing as perfect. It doesn't exist in this God creation of life, right? So then we went out at age 9, 10, 12, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, trying to get to the perfect, and it's not a place. There is no such destination. And that's where we hit an age where we were like, man, this actually feels bad. Mm-hmm. Because we kept reaching for a place that doesn't exist. There is no way to obtain perfectionism or a perfect state or a perfect place or a perfect way of being, but we were trained like that. So now we feel like we're a disappointment to all the people around us. Right. Then we're in the workforce. Then we have families, or we're taking care of families, or we're taking care of people, or we're inside of a place where on a routine, we have to see people who we didn't grow up with. There's this idea inside of our minds that we've got to maintain this perfectionism that actually doesn't exist. And now we find ourselves in a cycle of something must be wrong with me, and something is wrong with me. And I'm trying to keep up this picture that doesn't exist, but I'm going to keep trying to keep this picture together, even though I don't know what the picture is. Mm-hmm. But someone like 25, 30 years ago told me there was a perfect picture, and they trained me to do that. And every time I dip from trying to keep this up, I have people upset with me. And then it's like there's this crazy black lady who keeps saying I need to tell my story, for crying out Jehoshaphat's. And then she's like, I need to tell my story, but shit, if I tell my story, I'm going to be crazy imperfect. Mm-hmm. The whole world's going to know that I'm publicly imperfect. And then I'm going to find myself in a really dangerous place, because then I'm going to start getting phone calls from family members going, you can't say that out loud. You can't talk about such and such. You can't tell that story. That includes me. You talk about yourself. Talk about yourself. Don't include me. Don't put me in the story. Mm-hmm. Don't put me in the story. Mm-hmm. Don't put my business out there. Which also translates to this really delicious statement that says, hey, do me a favor and please lie or continue to lie to everybody. Mm-hmm. Please don't acknowledge or talk about the truth. That's actually the translation. The second that someone picks up the phone and calls you and says, hey, what are you doing? Don't do that. And they then say, don't do that. You can't do that. I need you to continue up with the lies that we've been doing for 30 years, 25 years, 16 years. 4 years, and you find yourself in this ridiculous place that says, what do I do? Because now you're in a place where you've got the itch. Mm-hmm. I think I'm going to call it now the freedom itch. Mm. It's kind of like once you get a taste of freedom, you almost can't you can't pull back from that. You know what I mean? It's kind of like once you have a really good cheeseburger, you can't go back to McDonald's. Like you can't. Not right. Consciously.
And then when you do, you know it doesn't taste right, and you're like, "This is crap. Why did I even do this?"
Correct. Or when you have really good food, or really good salmon, or really good. Why am all my things good food based? Or once you have real coffee.
I think you're hungry.
Or once you have real coffee, right, the truth of the matter is that you can't.
No.
I mean, that's a daily battle. Mm-hmm.
We go on hunts around the entire town. We
go on hikes.
Looking for coffee.
Looking for good coffee. Mm-hmm. Now, if I hadn't tasted good coffee before, then I would be willing to accept anything. But now we're in this place where we're like, no, I've gotten a taste of freedom because I feel what happens when I think about telling my story, or I talk about it out loud, or I'm just whole because the person or people in front of me, I give them all the things that I have, and I no longer have the pressure of trying to keep up this perfect image that actually doesn't exist. And that thing over there felt really good. Mm-hmm. So now you want me to leave this thing that feels good to go back to what doesn't feel good? No, I really need to talk about that. I also need to talk about the shit that's going on at home. I feel trapped in living with a man who is addicted to pornography, and it is driving me crazy and controlling everything that I do. I really do want to talk about the fact that last year I was subject to blackmail because of, I really need to tell the world that my mom is not the greatest person that they all believe her to be. These are the things that I have heard over and over again as I have walked through this concept around telling our story. I need to talk about what happened when I was a kid. That for the first 16 years of my life, I watched my dad hit my mom, and my mom normalized it. And so that is why from 18 to 44, I struggled in my own relationships with my own children. Because this is not a part of my life, this is my whole life. Parent, mom, friend, family, don't you want me to have like a real shot at just being happy? Isn't that the goal?